Warning. The following video podcast you're about to watch may contain scenes that could be too graphic and intense for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Goodluck Jonathan. Poor southern boy from oil-rich Bielsa state to accidental Nigerian president. Yes, Goodluck Jonathan.
2027 Nigeria election. Rhapsody. Political activities for Nigeria's 2027 general elections are beginning to gather pace. Politicians are preparing themselves, alliances are forming, campaign funds are being replenished, and campaign narratives are being sharpened.
Background to the story. Nigeria's general elections are scheduled for 2027 to elect the president and vice president, as well as senators and members of the House of Representatives, state governors, and members of the House of Assembly. Incumbent President Bola Tinubu has publicly declared his intention to run for a second term under the All Progressives Congress, APC. On the 2nd of July 2025, the Africa Democratic Congress, ADC, relinquished its leadership and organization to an alliance of dubious criminals, ADC coalition, which includes former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Senate President David Mark, ex-governor of Osun State, and Internal Affairs Minister Rauf Aregbesola, and Peter Obi to oppose President Bola Tinubu and the All Progressives Congress in the 2027 election. Amidst the fervent 2027 Rhapsody, we aim to focus on the debate in this video podcast. Jonathan for President. Fact or fiction?
This is New Media TV. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, please consider liking it, following us, and subscribing to our channels on Facebook and YouTube. It truly supports us and allows us to continue providing this essential driving information. All right, let's get started. Your host is Frank Bello in London.
Here is the analysis. Rumours are circulating in Nigeria about a possible presidential bid by former leader Goodluck Jonathan in 2027. Is this comeback realistic or merely speculative? The Nigerian media has been active with reports in recent weeks concerning a potential bid in 2027 by former President Goodluck Jonathan. For now, as far as we know, Jonathan remains discreet about this plan. But here is what we know. We were formally informed in London that Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, a member of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, led the initiative called Operation Jonathan Must Run. Mohammed, who also serves as the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, has not hidden his ambition to become Nigeria's president. He previously contested the party's presidential primary in 2022, but was defeated. As his second term as governor in Bauchi State nears its end, Mohammed aims to take the Aso Rock presidential villa in 2027, but there is a complication. 1. Southern wave tsunami. Currently, there is a widespread belief in Nigeria that a southerner should be the next president in 2027. This aligns with the zoning policy, an arrangement whereby power shifts between the Muslim-majority North and the Christian-majority South every 8 years. This is the wave that President Bola Tinubu, a southerner, aims to ride to secure his second term in office. Mohammed, a northerner, is therefore unlikely to win a presidential election. However, this is where Goodluck Jonathan from southern Nigeria becomes relevant. This is why Mohammed, who served in Jonathan's cabinet in the early 2010s, has been supporting the Operation Jonathan Must Run initiative. But it is not only Mohammed, insiders say. Former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has met with the former president at least twice to encourage him to run, sources say. The same El-Rufai who deposed him from office in 2015 for Muhammadu Buhari.
The challenges facing Jonathan in 2027. Jonathan's tenure was characterized by unprecedented economic growth, but it was tarnished by corruption and insecurity, which ultimately resulted in his defeat at the polls. However, his acceptance of defeat enhanced his public image as a champion for democracy in Africa. Jonathan largely avoided partisan politics, and his membership in the PDP remains uncertain. He did not intervene during the party's prolonged crisis and has not attended any political meetings for years, preferring to be regarded as an elder statesman. As a result, he currently has no political base, making it difficult for him to contest the election. Nevertheless, he is not committed to running. The issues of funding the PDP and the party's structure persist. Jonathan cannot face Tinubu unless he has all the necessary ammunition. 2. Jonathan destroyed Nigeria. Goodluck Jonathan's administration brought Nigeria to its knees and ruined the Nigerian economy through mismanagement, corruption, and reckless spending, among others. During his tenure, Nigeria earned a significant amount of money when oil prices were high, but there is little to show for it. 3. Goodluck Jonathan's legacy of waste and incompetence. Why Nigerians must not be fooled again. A sober reflection on Jonathan's record in office, 2010 to 2015, reveals a vastly different story. Far from being a saviour, Jonathan's presidency was arguably the worst in Nigeria's history, characterised by sheer incompetence in governance, wasteful spending during times of plenty, a gross failure to save for the future, and an obtuse inability to curb corruption. Under his tenure, billions of petrodollars were squandered, with little evidence of improvements in infrastructure or the quality of life of Nigerians. His administration's failures in security allowed terrorism, especially Boko Haram's insurgency, to flourish, resulting in countless lives lost. The following graphic video clips reveal Jonathan's legacy from 2010 to 2015, arguing that Nigerians should not be swayed by nostalgia or gentle smiles. These images have left an indelible impression that is difficult for some of us to forget.
2027, Nigeria cannot afford a return to the era of negligent leadership, fiscal recklessness, and endemic graft that characterized the Jonathan years. Instead, voters must demand competent administration, sound economic management, and accountability. In the following sections, we detail Jonathan's failures across the oil sector and beyond. 4. Squandered oil boom. Windfall wasted. No savings for rainy days. Goodluck. Jonathan had the extraordinary fortune of presiding over Nigeria during an oil bonanza. Oil prices were high and production robust, resulting in unprecedented revenues for the country. In fact, Nigeria earned approximately 51 trillion naira from petroleum during Jonathan's 5-year presidency, 2010 to 2015, a staggering sum that accounted for over half of all oil revenue generated by Nigeria since its independence. By comparison, President Olusegun Obasanjo's 1999 to 2007 administration, 8 years, earned roughly 27 trillion naira, and Umaru Yar'Adua's short tenure, 2007 to 2010, about 9 trillion. Jonathan was the luckiest of the leaders in terms of revenue inflow. Yet this luck did not translate into prosperity for Nigerians. Instead, it was a tragically missed opportunity. Despite the windfall, Jonathan's government failed to save for the inevitable rainy day. During the earlier boom years, Nigeria established an excess crude account, ECA, and later a sovereign wealth fund, SWF, precisely to set aside oil earnings for future needs. Under Jonathan, however, these mechanisms were mismanaged and effectively gutted. Even modest attempts at saving suffered mismanagement and underhanded spending by the federal government. The SWF became entangled in political tussles with governors, and the ECA, which had amassed billions under Obasanjo, was drained. Former President Obasanjo himself lamented that almost $25 billion was kept in what they called excess crude as reserve for the rainy days, but that reserve has been depleted by the end of Jonathan's tenure. Obasanjo noted that when he left office in 2007, Nigeria's foreign reserves, after clearing debt, stood at about $45 billion and had climbed to $67 billion by late 2007. However, by early 2015, the reserves had plummeted to around $30 billion. He squarely blamed Jonathan's administration, accusing it of frivolous expenditure and failure to save for the rainy day, a failure that led Nigeria into the current economic mess once oil prices fell.
5. Nigerians must remember Diazanigate. Jonathan's petroleum minister, Diazani Alison Madueke, became almost a symbol of corruption during that period. Appointed in 2010, Diazani managed the NNPC and the oil sector, and numerous multi-billion-dollar scandals emerged under her leadership. Years later, investigators uncovered how she allegedly received large bribes, including luxury homes in London, private jet flights, and shopping sprees at Harrods, in exchange for granting lucrative oil deals and contracts. Diazani and her associates, oil dealers like Kolara Luko and Jida Omakora, engaged in secretive deals that shifted oil revenues into private accounts. In one notorious scheme, shell companies were awarded no-bid strategic partnership contracts to operate oil blocks, contracts that allowed them to generate profits tax-free while paying no royalties. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, a former central bank governor, now Emir of Kano, blew the whistle late in 2013 on the extent of the oil money leakage. Sanusi told Parliament that over 19 months, NNPC had sold $67 billion worth of oil. yet between $10 billion and $20 billion was unaccounted for, missing from the treasury. He described it simply as taking what doesn't belong to you and transferring it to private hands, warning that the state is captive to vested interests. Instead of praising Sanusi's patriotism, Jonathan's response was to silence the messenger. Sanusi was suspended and effectively removed from his post in February 2014 in what was widely seen as retaliation for exposing high-level theft in government. 6. Security failures, Boko Haram, and national insecurity. Under Jonathan, if there is one domain where government incompetence literally killed Nigerians during Jonathan's presidency, it is security. Jonathan's tenure saw the meteoric rise of Boko Haram, the Islamist terrorist group that turned the northeast of Nigeria into a war zone. Boko Haram's insurgency actually began around 2009 during Obasanjo's tenure, but it escalated dramatically from 2010 onward, right under Jonathan's nose. Unfortunately, his government's response oscillated between denial, dithering, and heavy-handed crackdowns that often proved counterproductive. The result was a security collapse in parts of the country and the entrenchment of terrorism that Nigeria is still battling today. Jonathan, a Southern Christian, initially seemed to underestimate the Boko Haram threat, sometimes incorrectly suggesting that it was a political plot by his northern opponents rather than a serious terror movement. By the early 2010s, Boko Haram was bombing churches, police stations, and UN offices in Abuja, yet coordination among Nigeria's security agencies was weak. Corruption also hampered the military's ability to fight. Funds allocated for weapons were stolen, leaving soldiers poorly equipped. It wasn't until 2013 that Jonathan declared a state of emergency in the 3 worst-hit states, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, and initiated a full-scale military offensive. Even then, progress was limited and often reversed. Boko Haram fighters overran military bases, and by 2014, they were seizing territory. Horrifyingly, the group captured dozens of towns and declared a self-styled caliphate over an area the size of Belgium in northeastern Nigeria. Thousands of civilians were slaughtered or kidnapped, and hundreds of thousands were displaced. This occurred on Jonathan's watch, a glaring testament to failure in the core duty of securing the nation.
sojoji na Nigeria da kuma
Nigerian troops, the police, and those who cause us misdeeds cannot do anything against us. And you will gain nothing.
da za ku samu a cikin wannan addinin Allah.
No one returns to Allah until he is dead.
Da zai koma ga Allah sai in kwanansa ya kare.
Suicide attacks.
The kidnapping of over 200 schoolgirls from Chibok in April 2014 became a symbol of Jonathan's ineptitude in security issues. The world remembers the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls campaign, a global outcry that emerged only after the Nigerian government's slow response to the abduction. Jonathan's administration delayed addressing the large-scale kidnapping for weeks and initially downplayed or denied it, losing vital time that could have been used to pursue the kidnappers. Sky News in London reported that Jonathan and his government have been widely criticised for their slow response to the kidnapping on April 14, 2024, noting that it took an international outcry and street protests to prompt the Nigerian authorities into action.
Sisters, if your child lost, will you stay and keep quiet? Will you people stay and keep quiet? The presidency now is calling you, come, I want to help you. You don't want to appear. Will you agree? Now the first lady is calling you, come, I want to help you. Come to find your child, your missing child. Will you keep quiet? Child, there is God, oh. There is God, oh. The blood we are sharing, there is God, oh. There is God, oh. There is God, oh. There is God, oh. There is God, oh.
In summary, Nigeria under Jonathan was a nation of wasted potential. Despite possessing abundant resources, key development indicators showed little to no improvement. Infrastructure remained dilapidated. Electricity was limited. Strikes frequently paralyzed universities and hospitals. Job creation was weak, even as the population increased. The transformation agenda Jonathan promoted ultimately proved to be more slogan than substance. His government's failures have hindered Nigeria's progress and directly contributed to the country's current economic and infrastructural difficulties. Nigerians must reject the past and embrace a better future. Good luck. Jonathan's tenure as president serves as a cautionary tale of squandered wealth and misguided leadership. His gentle and friendly demeanor concealed a profound incompetence in governance that left Nigeria economically wounded, lacking infrastructure, and plagued by terrorists. Nigerians must not be fooled again by a smiling face or nostalgic rhetoric. These facts are loud and clear. Under Jonathan, Nigeria received record oil revenues, but ended up with almost nothing in the treasury. Corruption became ingrained to the point that billions of US dollars intended for development and security disappeared. Critical sectors from power to education either stagnated or declined. And Boko Haram turned large parts of our country into killing fields during his watch. This is not a record that warrants another chance at Aso Rock. It should be met with a decisive electoral rejection and remembered as a lesson in the kind of leadership to avoid. Nigerians, elections are not popularity contests or exercises in nostalgia. They are about everyone's collective future. We cannot progress by returning to past failures.
However polished the rebranding of Jonathan's legacy might be for those urging him to return, we owe it to ourselves to remain clear-eyed. A former president who presided over the height of incompetence in so many areas, who admitted, "I tried my best." Even as children were out of school, the funds looted are not what Nigeria needs at this time. Our nation faces serious challenges, including economic recovery, infrastructure development, addressing multiple security threats, and lifting millions out of poverty. These tasks require dynamic, decisive, and disciplined leadership anchored in integrity and competence. Rather than recycle a leader with an F9 certificate who is already proven incapable and clueless in administration, Nigerians should seek out candidates with a track record of prudent governance, courage to fight corruption, and tangible developmental achievements. We need leaders who will save for the future, not splurge everything, who will build, not squander, who will unite and secure the country, not allow it to drift into chaos. Jonathan's gentle persona cannot erase the corruption under his nose, just as a kindly smile cannot light our homes or defeat terrorists. As the proverb goes, a gentle man cannot shave a lion. In the fierce arena of governance, we require more than affability. We require ability. In closing this video podcast, this is a plea to Nigerians' sense of memory and responsibility. Do not be swayed by short-term sentiments or forget the cost of poor leadership. The current economic hardships, infrastructural gaps, and security struggles Nigeria endures have roots in yesterday's choices. Let us not repeat those mistakes tomorrow. No amount of rebranding can change the incontrovertible truth that Goodluck Jonathan's presidency was a failure for Nigeria. The most patriotic step he can take is to enjoy his retirement and allow new, capable hands to take the nation forward. And the most patriotic step Nigerians can take is to reject any attempt to return to that era of waste and graft. We must instead channel our votes and voices towards a future defined by accountability, progress, and hope. A future where Nigeria's wealth is used to uplift Nigerians, not squandered, and where leadership is synonymous with service and competence, not incompetence. The power to ensure this lies in our hands at the ballot box. Let us wield it wisely for the sake of our children and future generations.
That's all for this episode. Thank you for joining us today on New Media TV on Facebook and YouTube. On our channels, we challenge your mind by nourishing your spirit with news content that goes beyond the headlines. We simplify digital information. In our podcasts, we aim to deliver raw and unfiltered information, including more African and Black geopolitical content. Stay tuned and make sure you receive alerts so you don't miss out. If you found today's video insightful, please subscribe and share it with your friends and loved ones. Until then, I encourage you to stay curious. Thanks for watching. New Media TV.